and action. Kathy and Sam had a question about night rituals or sleeping ritual, so I'll go through it. I've mentioned it before with regards to resetting your circadian rhythm, especially if your adrenals are not working properly. So it essentially means you got to have a ritual at night, you have to have a ritual at the start of your day, and a ritual exposure to food 3 times a day with exercise somewhere in between. You do that on a regular basis, then your eye clock and your digestive clock will be in sync together and you should be okay. But again, I would say that there's ways to embrace that and nudge it into place with herbs. But just talking about the ritual at night, I usually go through a winding down process and I try to hit it at the same time every night, about 9:30. When 9:30 pops up, no matter what I'm doing, it's usually time to, number one, take my 2 herbs. I like taking 5-HTP, and depending on the night, I might take valerian or I might do ashwagandha or kava kava. It kind of depends. So those are herbs to stimulate the brain to kind of dive into a relaxation phase. Inositol powder is also nice to stimulate GABA receptors and calm down if there's a anxious day or a big talk the next day, but it kind of depends on what I use. Melatonin also very good, but whatever you do, those herbs are to push you and push the mind into calming. The other things you can do for calming would be turning down the temperature of the room, 67 to 69 degrees. I know that's cold, but hibernation usually occurs with mammals at that temperature, and we don't hibernate, but it'll be helpful to get you into that cocoon state. Obviously use sheets, but the colder the room, the easier the body will slow down its pulse rate, blood pressure, and brain waves. The other thing to do is also, I like to have darkness. So if my wife is staying up late at night, or if the door is open and there's a hallway light coming through because other people are still awake, I'll put my blinders on. So I have a sleep mask, and everybody makes fun of me in my family because they think I'm an old person by using a sleep mask, but it does shut down light. It has to be comfortable. I always take the same sleep mask to when I take my patients hiking or my clients hiking, and it's nice because when you're not ready for quieting down the night and you have the stars or the hallway light stimulating your eyeballs, or if you have a screen that you're looking at, even if it's blue light, or even if it's a Nook at reverse black, you still will have the stimulation to your eyes to say, okay, melatonin is not going to be secreted, so I'm going to be up. Now, it's not going to be like you had a cup of coffee, but it'll still stimulate you enough. So if you already have a little anxiety, if you have a little bit of indigestion because you ate too late, and then you put the eye stimulation in, it's not that great setup for getting to sleep. So blinders. Second thing you can do is earplugs, because if you have a snorer in the room, or if you have campers that are still talking in the next campsite, or if you have a dog that's snoring or barking, or people that are visiting and they're still staying awake, you want to turn these down. Recently went to a hotel and the neighbors were loud, and we tried to complain that, hey, it's a little late, but if you can't get them to shut down, put the things in, and usually that will turn off that sound, at least the 8th nerve from stimulating you. Sometimes then you're trying to get to sleep and you hear just an irritating noise, whether it's tinnitus or vocals or music from the neighbor. It can get the mind to process and say, why are we not getting to sleep? Quiet down, then the anger starts and all that other stuff. So, which brings me to there's a yoga technique where it's something where you kind of go inward. If you want to detach yourself from the external environment and kind of go inward and develop a mindful practice, turning off the nose for smell, the mouth for moving and talking, the ears for hearing, and the eyes from seeing will actually help you get into a meditative state. So the typical thing that we do is during the exhale, you make a sound like a bee. You'll make the sound like this. And you continue that during your exhale. Sometimes to stimulate that even further, You'll plug up the ears, the tragus, which is right here with your thumb. You'll also lightly cover the eyes. You'll lightly pinch off the nose, and then you'll keep your fingers or pinky fingers at the mouth. So if you do that, again, lightly pressing on the eyes because you can cause high blood pressure or problems, it turns off everything so you can hear that buzzing sound even better. And it is meditative. If you take a deep breath in and you slowly exhale and buzz out, in breath, slowly exhale, buzz out, you'll be falling into a trance because of, number one, the breath, number two, the sound. When you have that buzzing sound and it's amplified by closing off the external auditory canal, it reminds me of being in the water and just hearing nothing but your breath, or going diving and trying to blow bubbles. It slows down, makes you think about breath, makes you think about the vibrations, and you just kind of remove yourself from all those external stimuli. Now, having also a tactile response of comforting, cold weather, comfortable pajamas, comfortable pillow, will all be perfect to set you up to remove yourself from the external environment, go inward, go to sleep. There is also something called yoga nidra that you can do if you learn it and have persistent problems, but that is essentially my ritual for getting into proper sleep and hopefully waking up right before, usually it's 4:30 or 5 o'clock. When my ritual is off, like when I come back from traveling, I try to really empower myself to do that. And then at the opposite end of the day, I might take a stimulant like rhodiola or D-ribose or B12 at high dose, but or just exercise. Nothing like a 5 to 10 minute set of push-ups, Jack LaLanne exercises to give you a muscle pump and wake up the heart and the mind. But you always see that even though it is just a video now for ritual at night, it's always hallmarked and at the opposite end of the day with a ritual during the day. So you can never just talk about night, you always have to talk about day. So I hope that those are great questions, but hopefully this helps. There's always your way of interpreting and finding how to quiet down the night, get the mind going, doing mindful practice or meditative type of practice at night. But whatever it is, we always try to support that on a routine basis so then the brain will actually know when it's time to turn off.